I'm a 38M and want to call off my engagement to my fiance, 36F. I want to end our relationship of over 7 years. I'm seriously worried she might spiral, but I just can't keep carrying the emotional and physical weight anymore. I'm insanely busy juggling my career, rental properties, and managing a farm. All I've asked her to handle is the house. That's it. I take care of literally everything else. The bills, the upkeep, everything. And still, the house is a mess, and I get hit with non-stop negative comments about my family and choices. Our sex life is lacking too. Just this week, we were in bed, and I made sure she got off 3 times. Before I could even finish, she rolled over and immediately started scrolling through Facebook. I just stood there for a second, stunned, then went to clean myself up. I don't know if she thought I was done or what, but it was like she completely checked out. She's super critical of everything I do and goes through my mail, then questions what some of the things are. When my grandmother passed away, I continued to pay for the life insurance of my much younger siblings. It's $20 a month. She went into orbit about why it is my responsibility and what the fuck. I do things for my family because I'm fairly successful and situated in my life. My family, however, struggles with the usual things. I even took my entire family out to dinner a few weeks ago with my fiance included, and she did nothing but complain on the way home, saying it wasn't fair that I paid. I explained that I did it because it makes me happy. It wasn't going to keep her from having bills paid, a roof over her head, or even a meal later on. It wasn't going to interfere with her life whatsoever, so what is she gaining from complaining to me about my family? This morning was the last straw, however. I work at home, and my day usually starts at 7 a.m. She informed me yesterday that she needed a ride to pick up her car finally from service. She's been driving my other vehicle without even asking for months. I told her I'd see what I could do, but I had work. At 9 a.m., she started huffing and throwing a fit because I wasn't ready to get her vehicle. I was on a call with a coworker and sorting through some issues. Once I finished, I was told that we were already late and it would make her late for the rest of her day. I explained that I have to work and support my team since I'm the go-to person for many things in my company when issues arise. She just kept berating me. I don't want to keep living like this, dealing with this kind of situation. What's the easiest way to break the news to her? I don't want to be mean or harsh. Just explain that I don't see this working out and I don't plan on following through with our October wedding. Thanks in advance. Update. So many people were interested in my last post, so I, 38M, returned home today after a weekend to myself. I sat down to a meal actually prepared by my now ex-fiancé, 36F, for the first time I can remember in months. We ate dinner, and then I started to talk to her. I expressed that I have a lot of trouble trying to convey my feelings to my partner. It's on me because I just internalize my feelings with her. In all other aspects of my life, I have no trouble expressing my concerns or saying things how they are. Not sure why I struggle with the opposite sex in my relationships. As I was trying to explain, she said that sometimes the truth hurts, but it has to be said. I used that as my springboard, laid everything out, and explained that I don't see a wedding in our future and want to end the relationship. We talked for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then her parents showed up. They made sure my request that she not stay in the house was understood. She was very apologetic and expressed remorse for everything that had gone on. She cleaned a small part of the kitchen, which was nice, and asked if that made me feel better. I explained that this is what I needed, but I needed it years ago, not just today. We talked through everything, and she left without much of a fight. She'll come back with her family later to gather the remaining things, but they insisted her parents be there. There were tears, and she was very sad, but she completely understood. I'm taking this time for myself to heal my heart and soul and see where life takes me. I need to work on my personal communication because maybe my way of handling relationships is why they end up being disasters. As I mentioned in comments on my other post, this makes my 3rd engagement with different rings and still no wedding. I'm a fixer and always think I can make things better. I definitely need to focus on myself and figure out how to protect myself better in the future and handle my personal life as well as I handle business, I guess. Thanks again for the thoughts and the 400 plus comments on the other thread. This is just an update for those asking how it went. Notable comments. Oops comment providing more context. First off, I have read through all the comments. Thank you for the kind words and questions. I'll do my best to update you. I contacted her mother because I'm also close to her family and felt her mom would be the best person to help her through this, given the situation. She's sad about the whole thing, but understands that life is short. Her son, he stays with his grandparents as much as his mother allows. He and his mom constantly clash, going back and forth, and I have to be the referee. He and I are very close, and we frequently discuss his mom's actions. He doesn't understand it most of the time, and I try to help him work through his issues. When it's just us, we enjoy our time, do a lot together, and he shows appreciation, wanting to learn from me. He hates staying home because of the mess, and I can't blame him. Am I perfect? Of course not. I have confidence issues with the opposite sex and struggles with communication. I manage my personal life with few problems and am usually well prepared. For some reason, I seem to attach to girls who like to take advantage of my good nature. I've bought 3 engagement rings for 3 different girls, yet I've never been married. My relationship timelines are 2 years, 8 years, and now 7 years. I know that's not normal, but I'm a methodical person. I've stayed with this one mainly because of her son and wanting to ensure his well-being. I think he's old enough now to understand it's not his fault, which has also allowed me to think about myself first. I tend to put others first. I mentioned losing my grandmother. Realistically, she was like a mom to me. me. She raised me, and I'm thankful for that. I was her caretaker for 20 years as her dementia progressed. I lost her last June, and I think I stuck it out because I didn't want to be alone. I understand the advice to toughen up and move on, but it was hard having my day revolve around someone's well-being for so long, and then suddenly having a life with freedom. Then someone wants to criticize me for wanting to do things on my own. What's the plan? I'm away from home, and she's actually with me because I can't be trusted alone without her watching until Friday. She's super jealous and accusing. She has to go home because she works Friday afternoon and Saturday. I plan to stay where I am until Sunday. That's when I plan to sit down with her and explain my feelings. I plan to have her family nearby, unknown to her, so if she goes loco, I can text them, and they'll be there to handle it. That way, I'm not stuck in the situation alone. The car issue is strange. We live remotely, and ride-sharing isn't really an option. The car pickup was more of an example of how she demands things on her terms. When I can't comply, she makes me pay. I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells, and she constantly questions what I'm thinking or what my plans are whenever we're together. Family comes first. I agree, and I've had this discussion with her. When I was taking care of my grandmother, my family wasn't really around to help. I was mostly alone. They didn't want to be bothered or just couldn't handle the stress and decline of someone we loved. I felt in my soul that taking care of mom was my way of paying it forward. She took me in at 3 months old, in her mid-40s, after raising 5 kids on her own. She didn't have to do that, but she did, and I'm the man I am today because of her and my grandfather. Updates. I'll be happy to give updates after the weekend to let you know how things progress. I really appreciate the comments and messages, and I've read all 300 plus to this point. Thank you all, commenter. I think you just tell her straight out. It sounds like she lives with you, and I can't tell if she works or not. Give her a lump sum of money to get started elsewhere. It's more than she deserves, but it will make it easier for her to find a place and get the hell out of your house. It'll also make it easier for you to remind her that you set her up pretty well when you broke up, so you feel you owe her nothing anymore, and you need to eat any deposits for this wedding since you're the one calling it off. I'm a bit curious. Do you really expect her to work and fully maintain the home with no help from you? Do you do anything around the house? Oops reply. Yep, thanks. So yes, I'd prefer a clean home, and whenever I do anything, it leads to an argument because she claims she was going to do it. I have a full-time career, maintain rental properties, and manage a 100-acre family farm. I'm always on the move and home just to shower, eat, and sleep every day. She works a few hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week, at remedial jobs. I pay all the bills and expenses. She asked how she could help, and we discussed this a few months ago, but things have gotten worse since then. Another reply. Listen, I'm sure she has her issues, but you do too. You insult her work as remedial. You're gone all the time for work, come home to shower, eat, sleep, and then bitch about the state of the house. She needed a ride, and you sound like she wanted you to drive her across the country. You said she drove your other car for months without asking. Did you ever talk to her about it, or did you just stew over it? She rolled over after sex, and you left the room. Did you ever talk about it? Do you ever talk about anything? You mentioned in another post that you have OCD. How do you manage that? This relationship is not going to work, but it's always easy to blame the other person. I think you're just not well matched. You don't respect her at all, and she might not respect you. Set both of you free. Oops reply. I say remedial work because I even put her through schooling to better herself, and now she doesn't want to pursue that because it's the standard 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. She's sticking with the job that she complained about so much that I agreed to the schooling. Not saying I don't have issues and quirks, but I thought I could clarify my statement. Another reply. I still believe you're not suited for each other, but has it occurred to you that maybe she has ADH? She struggles with cleaning and organizing. She doesn't want a standard work week. After sex, she picks up her phone. I know that seems uncaring and probably felt awful, but what if it's distraction, not malice? Women with ADHP present differently than men or kids. She screams ADHD to me, and I have it too. I'm not saying you should stay with her or try to help her. Beyond that, you two are just not compatible. She complains about you helping your family, and you come and go, complaining about giving her rides, her spending, etc. If your OCD is an issue or quirk, her possible ADHD is similar, and you're just so critical of her. Maybe your quirks just don't match. Oops reply. I'll admit that avoiding conflict is one of my faults, so I'm rarely negative or make comments. It wasn't that I had to give her a ride. It was the unrealistic deadline she gave me, which I couldn't control. I can't stand drama, and usually avoid it at all costs. This is really pushing me out of my comfort zone, knowing I'm about to set off a big shitstorm. Story 2. My friend offered to buy my house for $1. Some backstory. I, 31 female, grew up pretty poor. I don't remember much, but at one point, my parents and I could only afford beans and rice. Since then, they've managed to get out of poverty. While they're not rich, they're comfortable, and I've used my childhood experiences as motivation to be super careful with my money. I got a job in high school, worked odd jobs on the side, saved every penny, rode my bike everywhere instead of driving, and by the time I moved out of my parents' place, I had just over $17,000 in savings. I don't have that much tucked away anymore, anymore, but I have investments and emergency funds. I take my family's finances incredibly seriously because I never want my kids to go through what I did as a child. My husband and I made financial choices that allowed us to buy a home at the beginning of 2015, which we purchased 50-50 with his mother. He paid his half up front, I made a large down payment, and his mother covered the rest with an escrow agreement that I would eventually pay off what she had invested. I've since completely paid my half, and the house is fully owned by my husband and me. It's a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 2-story home with a finished basement, attached 2-car garage on a double lot. We got the house for an absolute steal at only $118,000 for sale by owners. Since purchasing it, we've installed a fence and updated the oven, washer and dryer, water heater, and furnace. We've also paid for materials to repaint all the interior rooms. The updates it needs now are purely cosmetic. The exterior paint is an ugly brown pink color. We started repainting but need to finish. The hardwood floors have some distortion from it being a 100-plus-year-old house and having dogs when we lived there, and the bathroom could use an update, but it doesn't need one structurally. Needless to say, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being tear down the house and start over, and 5 being it's ready to put on the market for $300,000 today, the house is sitting at a 3.5 to 4. Backstory complete, let's get into what has become my biggest headache for the past 4 years. I have a friend, let's call her Carly, 27F, who had experiences similar to mine growing up. However, she struggles with finances and never manages to save more than $50 at a time. I'm not sure if it's a lack of self-control or if she's just too focused on the moment when she gets paid and doesn't think long-term. She consistently makes her money issues everyone else's problem. I don't blame her for money troubles. Budgeting isn't taught in school, and it took me years to find a healthy balance. The freedom to buy whatever you want is super tempting, but at some point, you have to take responsibility. During our friendship, I've helped her build countless budgets based on mine. We earned roughly the same amount, but they always failed for one reason or another. We tried different tactics to stop her from touching money meant for bills, but she ended up using every penny each time. Finally, I refused to help her with budgeting anymore because she never listened to my advice. When I suggested the easiest way to control her spending was to get a payee, she said she didn't need to be treated like a child who receives an allowance. Fair enough, I washed my hands of that topic. Carly moved out of her mom's house a little over 6 years ago into a mutual friend's place. Let's call her Tia, 27F. According to Tia, Carly paid little to nothing in rent, even though they both worked at the same company and earned almost the same salary. Carly's living space was a disaster. She moved into the basement, and it was lucky if there was even a walkway to reach the washer and dryer. She constantly asked me to come over to help her clean and organize her space, and because I'm a people pleaser, I always agreed. Each time, we made significant progress, but by the next weekend, it looked like a tornado had torn through her space. I have no idea how she crammed so much stuff into that tiny area. She never cleaned up on her own or made any effort to put anything away, always waiting for me to come by. If anyone watched us, it was always me cleaning or organizing while she sat back and dictated where everything went. Getting her to donate or throw anything away was like pulling teeth, as even the smallest scrap of paper had sentimental value to her. After a little over a year of living together, Tia couldn't handle it anymore and asked Carly to find another place. She wasn't going to kick her out, but she literally couldn't live with Carly any longer. A lot of other things built up that led to this, but I won't go into that here. It just so happened that my husband and I bought a second home around this time. We had paid off our first. My husband came into an inheritance, and we found a forever home that fit our wants and needs. The best part was that the new house was just a 5-minute drive from the old one. We hadn't decided whether to sell or rent our first house when Carly approached us about renting it. She and 2 friends wanted to move in together, and with the house being as big as it was, there was plenty of space for all of them to have their own room and privacy. Since we hadn't yet decided if we wanted to sell, and there were 3 renters already lined up, we opted to use it as a means of passive income to invest in our future. We thought we'd revisit whether to sell or keep it as a rental down the road. The red flag I initially missed was Carly referring to the house as her house to her potential roommates before moving in or signing a lease. By the time they were supposed to move in, Carly had driven the other 2 girls to back out. I had set up the original lease agreement so the rent was flexible depending on the number of tenants. With 3 people, they'd only pay $750 total per month. If just one person rented, it was $400 per month. In this area, you can expect to rent a bedroom for $400, so this was an incredible deal as we really didn't need the money. It mainly covered insurance, power heat, and property taxes. In the 4 years Carly has lived in that house, the rent has increased 4 times. First, to $500 a month because the power bill went up and we needed to adjust for that, then to $550 a month for the same reason. It jumped to $750 when she got a new job, and last year in October, more on that later. Also, in those 4 years, 2 separate opportunities for roommates have backed out, each time because she was setting the rules and referring to the property as her house, despite having zero claim to it and everyone having their lease agreement. When she first moved in, she had a minimum wage job and was my friend, hence the low monthly rent. But a year and a half ago, she got a new job at a local university, a 30-minute drive away, that pays well and has great benefits. Somehow, she still manages to blow through her entire paycheck on I don't even know what. During the past 4 years, she ended up owing me $750 in back rent because she repeatedly couldn't pay the full monthly amount. She often miscalculated her budget and overspent on junk, which she then stored on my husband's and my property. After a couple of years as landlords, my husband and I realized we weren't cut out for it. We had too much on our plates and no time for upkeep, and Carly wasn't keeping her end of the rental agreement she signed. We decided to sell, but we didn't want to throw Carly out, so we informed her of our plan. She proposed buying the house and started working on getting a loan. During this process, she realized the house wasn't what she wanted. She was looking for land, and the house was too big for her. She told us, and we understood, so I even helped drive her to meet with realtors to explore other options. However, each potential deal fell through because she wasn't eligible for a new homeowner discount, and all the loans required at least a 10% down payment, which she didn't have. This is where the entitlement begins. Carly couldn't buy a home, at least not the one she wanted, and settled on buying our house. We had briefly talked at the start of her tenancy about a possible rent-to-own situation, but no agreement was ever made. No sale price was decided, no appraisals or property inspections were completed, and nothing was signed. It was just a passing comment we had made. She took it as gospel truth and said that if she bought the house, she expected the 2.5 years of rent she paid to be deducted from the total sale price. I reminded her that we never signed anything about a rent-to-own and told her that's not how this was going to work. Her next move was to suggest that we quit-claim deed the property to her, again without her paying us anything more than the 2.5 years worth of rent she had already given us. A quit-claim deed means whoever owns the property grants the title deed to the new owner. It's usually quicker and cheaper than buying a house outright, but there's still generally some payment involved when the title is transferred. At this point, she'd only paid about $10,000 in rent, more than half of which went to utilities and property taxes that we covered instead of having her pay. She was acting like she wouldn't give us anything beyond that. I told her again that this wouldn't work. The house was in great condition, and even with the need for exterior paint and repairs to the floors and bathroom, it was worth at least what we had paid for it, $118,000. She tried to spin it that she was doing us a favor by taking it off our hands, as I'd mentioned to her that we were tired of being landlords and found it more effort than we had time for. Her final attempt at buying the house on her own was to offer me $1. That's right, a single dollar. I have to admit, I don't know if this was a failed joke on her part, but it really missed the mark, and I was so mad I was shaking, though I laughed it off. Side note, while she's lived in the house, my husband and I have some stuff stored in the garage since Carly parked on the street for convenience. She suggested more than once that she should start charging us rent for storing things in our own house, even though nothing was in her way, and we had already made it clear that if she bought the house, we would remove all of our property. At the end of 2022, Carly started dating Reggie, 28M. They were in a long-distance relationship, taking turns visiting each other. Carly mentioned to Reggie that we were looking to sell our house, and we tossed out a few numbers, with the lowest being $100,000. We did say we'd need an appraisal and to check market value first. He offered to buy it and said he'd start the process in March or April of 2023. We were all relieved. My husband, Carly, and I. Everything seemed great. Here's some info on Reggie back then. He's a retired Marine and gets a government check for nearly $2,000 a month on top of a well-paying job. Based on what Carly told me, he was probably making between $4,500 and $5,000 a month when he made his offer. When March or April came, Carly and Reggie told us he couldn't afford both his rent and a mortgage payment, so he couldn't start the purchase process then. He planned to start in October when he was moving in with Carly. Before Reggie moved in, an ex-friend offered to rent a room from Carly, even though subletting was clearly prohibited in the lease. Carly generously offered to pay us some of what she received. The deal fell through, and the friend didn't stay. I'm not sure why he handled things the way he did, but Reggie didn't start the purchasing process until after he moved and quit his job. The only income he could show a mortgage company was the government check, which isn't enough for a loan, even with a veteran's loan. When he moved in, the rent increased to $1,000 a month, which is still below market value for the size of the home. A brand new rental agreement was written and signed, stating that if they hadn't started the process to buy the house from us by mid-April 2024, we wouldn't be renewing the lease nor considering month-to-month rental options with them. My husband and I are completely fed up with this mess. We also stated in the rental agreement that we would not be listing the house for sale as a sign of good faith to allow Reggie and Carly the first choice to buy it. Here's a rapid-fire list of what has happened since October. Reggie paid the $750 that Carly owed me in back rent. At some point, either in late November or early December, Carly and Reggie informed us they wouldn't be buying the house, as they estimated the needed repairs to be over $50,000. I don't know where they got this number. I've budgeted on multiple occasions to redo the flooring, which would cost less than $15,000 for the entire house, and repainting wouldn't be more than a few thousand. The bathroom remodel wouldn't cost much either, as they plan to do the work themselves. We recently repaired major bathroom damage for less than $500. They couldn't find rental housing due to their 3 cats, so they'll be staying in the house. We informed them we were not renewing the lease and reiterated our reasons. I made the mistake of telling Carly how much we owed on our mortgage. They then offered us $50,000 to buy the house, which is less than 1/3 of the market value if sold as is. We politely declined, went home, and screamed into pillows. They have repeatedly told Tia they're desperate for money, to the point of debating setting up a GoFundMe. Meanwhile, Carly has gotten 2 brand new tattoos this past year and has fully paid for an international trip at the end of March. Reggie still hasn't gotten even a part-time job. We installed a water heater in an emergency and Reggie paid for it. I'll have fully reimbursed him by the end of March. Carly quit her job, so after this week, Reggie's military stipend will be their only income. Carly casually mentioned we'd have to renegotiate rent for this month and the next. There will be no negotiations. She made a poor decision and has to deal with the consequences. Recently, she texted me asking if she could pay for this month's rent in food. Knowing her, it'll probably amount to just a couple of meals and maybe $75 in groceries instead of the roughly $500 they owe. I jokingly told her that electricity and insurance companies don't accept food as payment, so neither can I. She then offered to cover what it would take to pay those expenses and handle the rest in food. I haven't responded, and it's been a day and a half. They will pay me in cash, and that's it. I'm done. No discussion. My advice to all of you, don't mix business with friends unless you really know them well. If I had known what I'd be getting into, I'd never have let her move in. Relevant comments. Jamas Varusam. Why are you letting her dictate anything? Evict her. Period. Ope. I'd love to, but where we live requires 60 days notice, which gives them a chance to stay past their lease. They conveniently dropped the news on me that she quit her job when it was too late for me to give the required notice for eviction. Have you been inside the house since these 2 freeloaders moved in? I think they might have damaged parts of the house, which is why they claim $50,000 in repairs. Let them know they need to get all their stuff out, or you'll just toss it with the trash. If it's worth anything, you could sell it for some of the money they owe you, but I bet most of it is just junk. If they don't move out when the contract ends, it's 100% time to evict them. But if that happens, check with a lawyer and see if you can cut off all utilities, water, electricity, gas. You want them out before they wreck the house. If they do, take pictures, share them on social media, and let all your friends know what she did. Make sure no other friend is dumb enough to let them move in. Oop. Luckily, I've been inside the house. I was there on Sunday and was able to do a quick walkthrough. Everything seems okay right now, but I'll keep that in mind for when we deliver the eviction letter. Update. Good fucking God. Thanks for all the comments. There was some great advice in there, and I appreciate it. I should clarify. The reason we let Carly move in initially was that she made it sound like she had nowhere to go. She spun a tale that her home life with her mom wasn't safe. Untrue. She made it sound like Tia was literally kicking her out that day. Also untrue. And she hounded me relentlessly in person and over the phone until my husband and I made a quick decision to let her rent from us. I've learned this is a manipulation tactic. I've reached out to an attorney. We talked about everything that happened, read through the lease, and got a few options. We can wait until May 1st when Carly and Reggie are supposed to leave. If they're not out, we deliver a intent to sell notice. That gives them 90 days to vacate after the lease ends. Not ideal. We could deliver the intent to sell now, giving them until mid-June to get out. Still not ideal, but better. If they're still in the house after 90 days, we'll file for unlawful detainer and the cops will forcibly remove them. We can't evict because there are no grounds, even with all this going on. Courts mostly side with tenants over landlords. The moment their rent is late, we can start eviction, giving them 14 days to pay or leave. But if they pay, the eviction stops. So still not ideal. They can't get squatters' rights since they haven't been here long enough. I'm going to tell her mother everything she's done. I doubt she knows. I'll also tell our mutual friends. I've done a lot of self-reflection lately before writing this and came to several conclusions. I know she's not my friend. I had this false idea I was helping someone I saw as a friend and ended up enabling her shitty behavior. I realize I'm a doormat and don't know how to set boundaries. I've spent a lot of time on the phone and in offices recently. I'm on a waiting list to see a therapist and learn to set boundaries because I don't want my kids to pick up my bad habits and get into the same mess. To everyone who said it's a miracle, my husband is still with me. He was with me throughout the process. I never did anything without his consent since we own the house equally. I'm taking most of the blame because Carly was my friend. I've apologized to him and we had a deep conversation about improving our communication. He apologized for not realizing sooner that my friend wasn't who she claimed to be and didn't warn me I was being manipulated. I'll update again when we get closer to May 1st, unless something happens sooner. Update. Hopefully, this is the last update. Sorry it took so long to get back here. They're out and have been since April 1st. And no, it wasn't a joke despite the date. Life's been insane and I've been so overwhelmed with this whole situation that it's been hard to get back here and face it all again. They left the house a mess, which isn't surprising. They claimed they didn't have the time or money to finish, even though there was a whole month left on their lease. Honestly, I'm happy they're out, though I'm pissed about the mess. I'd rather clean up a bit than fight them in court to kick them out. I told her mom and showed her everything. Her mom was angry too and told her off a couple of times for 1. Leaving the house in that state and 2. Treating me and others the way she did. I've also started therapy and am working on setting boundaries and getting over my people pleasing. The last time I spoke to Carly was yesterday because I learned from a friend that she joked about leaving the house a mess on purpose because she was mad at me. I confronted her and asked why, even if it was a joke, because even jokes have some basis in truth. She said it was because emotions were running high and she was stressed at the end when they were getting ready to leave, that she was frustrated with how little I did with the house while she was there, despite me repairing everything that needed it ASAP. And she was mad my husband and I stored some of our things in the garage. I explained that 1, it's our house, so we can do that. 2, there was was plenty of space in the garage for her things as well, and 3 none of her vehicles would have fit in the garage anyway, as they were all too long and none of them ran, so she couldn't have even gotten them into the garage. Carly had to junk 2 of the vehicles she left behind, even though she said she had someone who could keep them on their property so she could work on them. I don't understand her logic, and I'm done trying to figure it out. The last thing she said to me was that she was sorry, though I don't believe she genuinely is. She's just saying it to make herself feel better. Thanks to everyone who read, commented, and gave advice. It's been greatly appreciated. Sorry if it's a bit of an anticlimactic ending, but I'm relieved that it's done. Some good news is that we're working with a buyer now and are making steps towards selling for what the place is actually worth. Story 3. My 29M girlfriend, 26F, and I have been trying for a baby. She's been taking contraception behind my back. I've been with Katie for almost 2 years now, and she's everything I could possibly want in a girlfriend. I was planning on proposing later this summer, but now I'm just not sure. I made it very clear from the start of our relationship that I want at least 1 child, and she told me she did too when she was a bit older. She'd like to be at least 25 when she has a child, and I agreed, saying there was no rush since becoming a father is something I definitely want. She also told me early in the relationship that she's been on the contraceptive pill since she was 15 for hormonal acne. I told her that was fine and she could just come off the pill when she was ready, so we could potentially start having a baby together. Earlier this year, around the end of December 2021, I brought up again that I'd like to have a child at some point. Katie actually said she'd been thinking about stopping her birth control and trying for a baby with me. I was over the moon, incredibly happy, and we decided to start trying properly. In January, the first month, she got her period. I was a little disappointed, but knew these things don't happen right away. I had to be patient. But with every month that passed and she got her period again, I felt increasingly disappointed each time. We've tried everything, tracking her cycle, having sex around her ovulation date, but nothing seemed to work. I've tried to keep my spirits up and support Katie, as she's also been down about it. I've kept reminding her it's only been 5 months, and I'm sure she'll get pregnant within a year or so. She's had a couple of late periods, and each time I asked her to take a pregnancy test, we'd get the single line. It crushed me a little inside. Today, Katie woke up and had her period again. I felt that pain in my chest, but put on a sympathetic smile and told her, when it happens, so don't blame yourself. I went to the bathroom to get her some painkillers, only to realize we didn't have any. I assumed she might have some in her purse, which was on the table in the front room. I opened her purse and picked up a little packet of pills, but they weren't pain medicine. They were contraceptive pills. My heart sank as the box was empty, yet in her purse, she had another box that was full. I took them to her and asked why she still had these, if she hadn't been taking the pill for almost 6 months. She started to panic, trying to grab the boxes from me, saying she's sorry and can explain everything, but when I gave her a chance, she couldn't explain at all. All she said was she wasn't ready for a baby yet. When I asked her why she couldn't just tell me that, instead of us both going through the pain every month she didn't conceive, she had no reason. I told her it was fine that she had changed her mind, but she should have told me. I said I couldn't trust her anymore because she went behind my back, hiding something big from me. She got upset and said she was going to visit her mom for the day. I let her go, but since I've been home alone thinking about this, I've realized how badly it's messed me up. I always made sure she could tell me anything. I never pressured her, shouted at her, or made her feel otherwise. I just don't understand how she could have been taking those pills behind my back, faking the disappointment I felt every month when she got her period. I don't know where to go from here. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to propose in 3 months anymore. It's going to take a lot to rebuild my trust, and I don't know if she can do it. Not having a child is a deal breaker for me. It hurts because I love this woman with my whole heart. I'm so hurt by this. Edit. What the fuck? I didn't realize it was a law you had to be married before having a baby. I stated in my post I was going to marry her, but after her lying to me and causing me emotional pain every month, now I'm not sure I want to marry a liar. I'd be happy to wait 5, 6, or even 7 more years for a baby if that's what she wanted, if only she'd communicated that with me. Relevant comments. Someone points out an inconsistent timeline. Your timeline isn't adding up to me. You've been together for almost 2 years as of May 2022, so the earliest you could have been in a relationship is roughly June 2020. Katie is 26 now. In June 2020, she couldn't have been younger than 24. How long were you together before you asked her about having a baby? And she said she wanted to wait until she was 25. Even if you had this conversation the day you started dating, Katie was at most 10 months away from 25. I can't imagine being 24 and telling someone I just met that I wanted to wait to have a baby but would be ready within a year. With a stranger? Also, I can't imagine telling someone I'd been dating for a while, say 6 months, that I wanted a baby but wanted to wait until I was 25, which would be in no more than 4 months from that point. Your timeline seems really off to me, and I don't trust it. Everyone else seems focused on her lie, but your timeline kind of suggests that you've always been pressuring for a baby from the start. Feel free to correct the timeline, but I couldn't find any situation that matches what you said and didn't come off as creepy to me. When asked what the rush is to conceive, we thank thankfully have free healthcare here, so there's absolutely no rush now. If she had told me at the time, hey, maybe in a couple of months I'll come off the pill, that would have been absolutely fine, and I would have continued to save up for a ring for her and our wedding. Hell, I don't even care if it's 5 or 6 more years until she's ready. I'd marry her today if I could. I don't think you're ever financially stable enough to have a child. You just have to do the best you can. Of course, we have enough to ensure it would have a pretty decent life, but there's always something else you can think of, like, oh, let's save up X amount of money so it can go to a private school before we even try for one. You know what I mean? If everyone waited until they're financially stable, nobody would ever have a child because there's always more you can do. Edit. I say pretty decent life, but I don't mean the bare minimum. I mean, we could raise a baby with enough money to give it everything it needs and more. It would never go hungry, and we'd never have to choose between feeding ourselves or paying rent. The baby would have nice clothes, participate in sports, and have birthday parties, but some people wait until they can afford the top of the range things for their child. When told not to pressure my girlfriend, I really don't see how I've pressured her at all. She knew this was important to me, and I've always tried to be as understanding as possible. I've told her there's no rush for us to have children, and she could change her mind anytime. I just would have appreciated her honesty if she wasn't ready, rather than sitting on the toilet crying over a negative test while I try to comfort her, also feeling hurt. Info about our financial situation. No, she has her own job, and I have mine. We earn roughly the same, share household bills and chores equally, and she's entitled to spend her money however she wants, just as I am. I told her that when she eventually gets pregnant, I'd be happy to do some overtime while she recovers from having the baby or wants to take time off. She seemed pretty happy with that. Info about our relationship dynamic. I wouldn't say she's insecure, nor am I controlling. We both make decisions in our relationship, and everything is split fairly equally. She hangs out with her friends whenever she wants, has access to her own money. We frequently go out on dates. She drives her own car, visits her family, and has the rights to everything I do. This isn't the 1900s. She can do whatever she wants. She's an adult entitled to her life, and if I was controlling her at all, I doubt she'd put up with it, nor would her friends and family. When asked why it's so important to get pregnant before proposing, it's not. We talked about marriage around the same time we discussed her coming off the pill. It was the end of 2021, and we had a chat about our plans for the next year. I asked if she'd be willing to 1. Try for a baby, 2. Marry me when I've saved enough money. She agreed to both, and mentioned she had been considering going off the pill for a while. The conversation I brought up just confirmed what she was already thinking. Obviously, we could try for a baby right away, while planning a marriage would take longer. I've started saving for both a ring and setting aside money for our baby. OP blames GF. That could be a possibility. Maybe we just misunderstood each other. Still, I would have appreciated it if she'd simply asked or explained to me she was still taking it. It makes more sense to be honest with me than to fake the emotional pain every month during her period. I've put aside my own feelings countless times to comfort her, thinking she was genuinely upset about not conceiving, just as I was. It seems like she went through a lot pretending these emotions, lying and hiding, taking these pills when a simple, I'm not ready yet, would have prevented all of this. The truth about, my girlfriend and I are trying for a baby. She's been taking birth control behind my back. I want to start by saying, what you're about to read is probably going to be very long, but it's all 100% true, unlike the bullshit you probably read before from my now ex-boyfriend, Ryan. I cannot believe the lies and manipulation he has put on Reddit for you all to read with my name included. I am even more shocked he thought he could use a throwaway account to hide behind the shit he's been posting online about me. I went to my mom's house after our argument to escape him because I couldn't handle the confrontation. I've always been a people pleaser. It's my biggest flaw and something I'm working on. At that moment, I just needed to get out. I explained the situation to my mom, and she said I could stay as long as I needed. I planned to go back to Ryan that evening, but a few hours later, I opened Reddit, and right on the front page was his twisted version of events. His post blew up, filled with mixed comments, some calling me an evil lying bitch, others labeling him a control freak who pressured me. I was shocked by what I was reading. I tried reaching out to Ryan privately, with screenshots of his post, asking why he would do this to me. He didn't respond. Every time I've tried to talk to him, he completely ignores my messages. I feel like the only way he'll notice me is if I make my own post about him, like he did about me. But mine would be the truth. First, I want to clarify that Ryan and I have been together for almost a year and a half, not 2 years. I met him when I was 24, and he made it clear from the start that he wanted a child. He told me he desperately wanted one before he turned 30, and if I couldn't provide that, it was a deal breaker for him. At that time, I said I would eventually want a child, just not yet. I was in a dead-end job, still trying to figure myself out, and emotionally and financially, I wasn't ready. He said that was no problem, and I didn't think much of it, except it was weird he discussed this so soon. I continued taking my birth control, as I had since I was prescribed it at 15 for hormonal acne, and everything was fine until last December. We were talking about our hopes for 2022, and he said he wished I'd get pregnant. He had just a year left to fulfill his dream of becoming a father before he turned 30. I explained that I'd gotten a better job, and if everything went well, maybe later this year would be a good time to try conceiving. I wanted to stop birth control to see how my body reacted after years on hormones before attempting anything, but I think all he heard was that I wanted to start trying for a baby immediately. At no point did he mention marriage or engagement in our future discussions, as he claimed in his post. I found out he'd he'd been planning this through Reddit. In the first week of January, I stopped taking the pill, and let me tell you, it fucked me up. My skin broke out like I was a teenager again, and my emotions were all over the place. I was getting irrationally angry at the smallest things, and then crying hysterically afterward. I know some of these mood swings landed on Ryan, but he comforted me, saying it was just my body adjusting to the change. He promised he didn't mind dealing with it because I was going to give him the best gift he could want, a child. My emotions were already out of control, but hearing that pissed me off. I felt like I was going crazy and started questioning who I really was. Was I always this angry and sensitive before I started the pill? I had no sense of who I actually was, and it was driving me insane. After 3 weeks off birth control, my skin was the worst it had ever been. It was red, and any products I applied just irritated it more. I had lost all my self-confidence, caking my face in foundation, but I couldn't hide the texture. At this point, Ryan bought me a new facial cleanser to try and help. I explained how it didn't seem to do much, and he just said, "You're clearly not washing your face properly." This shattered what little self-esteem I had left. I cried and begged that night for him to let me go back on the pill. I couldn't stand my emotions. My acne made me want to rip my skin off, and I genuinely thought I was going insane. Despite my pleas, he told me no, I couldn't. I knew I couldn't cope with how things were. So the following day, I went to the pharmacy alone and stocked up on pills. I knew he wouldn't allow me to take them again, but I also knew I couldn't go on. I started taking these pills in the evening when he was in bed, and within 3 or 4 weeks, my emotions seemed to stabilize and my skin cleared up slightly. He marveled at how, if I just washed my face properly in the first place with the cleanser he bought me, I wouldn't have had this whole issue. I know lying about it to him was shitty of me, but I was desperate. I understand how I broke his trust, but I also understand how angry he would have been if I had told him I was going to resume the pill as usual. I know long term I couldn't have kept this up, and honestly, I'm not sure what I was going to do. I definitely started to grow resentful towards him as our relationship progressed. He'd constantly get frustrated with me every month I did not conceive, but honestly, that was better than the alternative of feeling like I was crazy. This whole situation has made me realize how toxic our relationship was, and him not responding to my calls or texts asking to talk about his original post has confirmed what I already kind of knew, but didn't want to admit. Maybe we just weren't meant to be. I obviously loved Ryan, and I still do, but after seeing his post about me and how inaccurate it was, making himself look like the good guy and me the villain, I think we're better off apart. He might see this post, he might not. I really hope he does, because I deserve to point out the inconsistencies in his story and timeline, especially since it blew up so massively. But if he doesn't, I guess he'll realize when I don't return from my mom's house. Relevant comments. When told that arguing over Reddit is a clear sign the relationship needs to end, I completely agree. I tried to contact him several times over the past few days, but no luck. He obviously wanted some karma and attention from Reddit, and since I've been lied about and had personal details posted online, it's only fair I get to do the same. Someone suggests seeing a naturopathic doctor to come off birth control in the future. This is absolutely how I should have done things. One day I was taking the pill, and the next I wasn't. There's no way my body could have adjusted overnight to years of being on medication. When I eventually feel ready, I'm definitely going to speak to a dermatologist to see what other options are available. I feel like many teenagers and women with issues like bad periods or acne are just given birth control to cover the symptoms, not actually deal with the issue itself. Comment. Guys like this are just like the "I want a son" guy. They don't want to be dads. They just want something they can control, which also traps their girlfriends so they can control them too. Yep, he even told me he wants a son, and if we have one, it's his child. If we have a daughter, it's mine. He said, "Of course I'll look after it with you, but you can change all the diapers. I'll only do that if we have a son."